for there is other intrigue on the Sunday as well. More Tier 1, Tier 2 in theory, although when you say Tier 2 and talk about Fiji, I cock a sceptical eye, because the same sceptical eye that I cock when someone says Tier 1 Italy. Like, I'm just like, is it really though? Like, this Fiji team are bloody good. Like, they really are. And yes, they will be heading to the Principality Stadium in Cardiff to take on Wales this Sunday. Kick-off 3:15. We have Nick Berry of Australia with the whistle for this one, Ben O'Keefe of New Zealand, and Gianluca Gnecchi, I believe, from France, and Stuart Terhage of England. Quite a colourful multinational TMO and refereeing
colourful
ticket.
bunch of names, yes.
But TV coverage again will be on Amazon Prime for this game. But in their most recent encounter, Wales beat Fiji 29-17 that was in the pool match in Rugby World Cup 2019.
Yeah, it was a great game too.
It was a fantastic game. We all remember them dumping Wales unceremoniously out of the 07 World Cup,
it's
wasn't
one
it?
of the great Rugby World Cup games of all time.
This is true.
It was a brilliant game from Fiji, who were excellent that year. And it was egg on face for Wales, but actually Wales had some incredible moments in that game as well. Some Shane Williams tries that were out of this world.
It's true.
That was just one of the great games of all time.
Attacking footy from
both of these sides come from an attacking place.
They do.
It's in their soul. Offensive rugby is in their soul.
Yeah. So there's very little likelihood that this is an ugly game. Even in the rain, this is probably a pretty enough game as rainy games go. The overall record, Wales and Fiji, they've played each other on 12 occasions, with Wales winning 10 and Fiji winning just that one match. There's been one draw between the two sides as well, so pretty decent record that Fiji are
they've pulled off a couple of results, but including that famous one. I'm just looking at it from the point of view of the hosts, starting off with Wales. Obviously fresh from that showing against the Springboks last week. They are winless since round 4 of the Six Nations now, and they desperately do need to fix that.
They need to arrest some kind of momentum. Like, a loss here is very concerning for them, although you can, it's not beyond them, as you've said before, to go winless in autumn and then rock up to the Six Nations as defending champions and 4th seeds or somehow, and still win the thing.
They have picked their side, Wales, mercifully, so we do have a bit to work with there. They've gone with Rhys Carey, Ryan Elias, Thomas Francis, Will Rowlands, Adam Beard, Ellis Jenkins, Thomas Young, and Tane Basham make up a very dynamic back row.
Very mobile.
Getting Wainwright out of there on this occasion and moving Basham to 8, but it is a very good back row. They've gone with Kieran Hardy at 9, tempo. Dan Bigger keeps his jersey at 10, of course. Johnny Williams at 12. Josh Adams in at 13 in the midfield.
Well, I'd say it's crazy, except he was basically playing there last week. He kept coming off his wing for work.
Gets him involved.
It does.
Lewis Rees-Zammit then on one wing, and interestingly Alex Cuthbert back in the side on the other wing.
Back from outer space to take up his place in the wing. That is harsh on Johnny McNichol.
Liam Williams at fullback as well.
But McNichol is out of the side, I believe. He's not even on the bench, which is crazy, because he was actually playing well in both of those games. Even in the All Black game that they got stuffed in, he played well.
Shinzua as well, the Exeter Chiefs lock, is set to make his debut as well, and he's highly touted. And then they've also got Thomas Williams, Callum Sheedy, and Nick Tompkins to bring in,
good impact,
which is definitely good impact as well. It's an exciting Welsh team. They're going to have to play a good game against this Fijian team. They're going to have to expect a similar kind of defensive effort to what Fiji showed against the All Blacks in July, and not the one that rocked up to Madrid last week.
This is it, and the one that they showed in Paris in years gone by, when that game that they won as well. Like, they've been built on defense much more than they have been for the last few years. So there's no real excuse for Wales forgetting that fact or overlooking that fact. They've got to expect a tenacious line speed that is going to be aggressive and going to try and shut them down. So if they want to access wide channels, which they do, looking at where Josh Adams is and looking what they picked, they're going to have to be accurate, and they're going to have to be sharp.
I do like Josh Adams at 13. I like getting him involved. He's a strong carrier. He's an absolute handful.
True. And he has a decent pass, which is necessary.
It should suck in the inside defence of the Fijians. Wales need to redial their offence. Their offence is what makes them, and they're one try in the last 2 games now. Granted, they're against the 2 best defences in the world. They should feel the love of being able to breathe a little bit. But they were very kick heavy in the last few weeks. They were very, they kicked their threes. It was kind of old school Gatland style Wales.
It was more so than Pivac's new school.
Exactly right. that you want to see them try and find the wide channels, get to the edge of the Fijians, catch them a little unstructured. They are without their coach at the moment. The Fijians, they're a little hodgepodge put together, not many training sessions. You want to test them on the extremities. You want to get your quick men on the ball running off one another and let your offensive instincts play. And you've got to strike off set piece. It's what they did so well in the Six Nations. Trying to get to the 13 channel off the set piece. And I think that there's a reason why they've put Josh Allen's in there, is because it wasn't working without that speed at 13.
Yeah,
and
where they had North, there's precedent, because when it was going so well in the Six Nations, it was North in a 13, and that was,
Yeah, and he wasn't necessarily playing the same kind of game that Adams would be playing.
No.
But Adams is a handful both in the carry game and getting to your outside shoulder and getting to the edge.
True.
Wales do need to be an offensive team. Their Fijian defence is good. It's particularly robust on the inside.
Yeah.
But if you work them, if you move them from one side of the pitch to the other, you are going to find them disjointed.
Yes,
for sure. And you have some excellent loose forwards as well who can pick good lines and really participate in the offense.
And guys like Beard who can contribute if you're doing setups of pods out in that wide channels. Though that's the kind of guy you want to operate.
How they manage to access things, how they manage to basically set up set piece strike moves off the multi-phase was by running deceptive little screens with Beard as the distributor on the edge, on that 13 on that outside shoulder, and just making a read off the Fijians. But they need to be they need to get Louis Rees-Zammit back on the board and back
smiling again. I've watched him the last few weeks, including the Gloucester game when Wales were busy getting hosed by the All Blacks and he wasn't involved. And he just hasn't had the same plucky swagger. The little smirk of a winger who knows even during the anthems that the ball's going to sit up for him and he's going to grab a try. That it's a tough thing to put your finger on, but he definitely had it last season. Doesn't seem to have it this season. They aren't playing him in as much.
We've seen this happen with wingers loads of times. One big season and then a drop off. And Rees-Zammit doesn't need that. Obviously, he needs to kick on. And as much as we joke about Wales slip a few games, come in as underdogs and win the Six Nations again, they are actually in danger of falling away here, falling away from the PVAC identity, falling away from being the clinical offense they need to be. And as much as we say, they'll rock up as underdogs and win, the other Six Nations sides are only getting better.
That's true.
England are not going to be as bad as they were last year. Next year, Ireland are going to be better again. France are likely going to be more mature. Scotland are probably going to be better again. Wales are going to have a much tougher time of it if they don't improve and if they don't re-find what made them so special, which was just that capacity to take tries. And it was on everybody. Bigger obviously has that vision as well, but Kieran Hardy, whoever was in there, whether it was a grubber kick that was needed, whether it was an inside carry
tap and go to catch an English pack off at
they scored all kinds of tries just by everybody on the pitch being dialed into where's the try on this play. And as good a defence as Fiji are, they're physical on the inside. Wales should fancy getting to the outside, and they need to be a team that is not about building a score through 3-pointers, but rather about being relentlessly efficient when they get into the red zone. That's what made them special. That's what they got to go back to.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of that, and this is a good game, a good litmus test for that, because Fiji are a very competent team, as competent as you will ever get in a tier 2 team. They are the best tier 2 team. I would argue.
Japan officially is a tier 1 team.
Japan is officially a tier 1 team now, and Italy aren't technically. If they play Italy next week,
Oh yeah, they'd be favourites. They're ranked ahead of Italy.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a bit, the tier 1 tier 2 divide is a bit dubious when you talk about Fiji, because as we've said with Fiji, from their point of view, they have so much quality player for player. We were talking about Georgia and all their players in the top couture. Ditto that for Fiji, and not just the top couture. There are Fijians in the URC, there are Fijians in the Premiership, there are Fijians in Super Rugby, there are Fijians everywhere that rugby is played. MLR, they're always a useful asset in a team, and more often than not, they're the star player, talisman in the team. You look at what Willem Mata was doing for Edinburgh a few years ago, and it's they are box office to a man, and they have just so much quality that they can never be written off as a
explosive game breaking potential across the pitch. In particular, you got to look at Wainakolo is a serious talent on the wing, but it's Josh Tuisova, who I assume is going to be into the starting team. Absolutely sacked down a Welsh defender for a try that he scored at the World Cup. He's a bundle of potential who they're going to want to get involved often and always. It's a shame they don't have the likes of Semiran Radra, but they do have Vola Vola to move them around the pitch. They're a smart team. They're well structured these days. Granted, last week they rocked up so far from the pitch of the game.
They cannot.
It was ridiculous early doors. Like they were soaking tackles against the Spaniards, who they were much bigger and stronger than, and then just giving up soft tries. Yeah. Like that kind of
crazy dialed out beach rugby.
It's kind of on. They obviously coach isn't watching. Vern Cotter's at home, and they have this kind of hodgepodge of Northern Hemisphere coaches who have to get through to them that they need to work.
Which is very often tough. Here. We've seen that fall flat on the Fijians, but the work rate from this squad should still be such that you need to rock up to Cardiff at the pitch of the battle. You're going to do your kibi and you're going to arrive at a fever pitch, and you have to be ready for that opening whistle, opening play, let's go, because they didn't have that last week in Spain. It took them well into the second half before they found their groove, and it's already over if that's the case this week. They need to be aggressive. They realise that this is a Welsh side, not with momentum at the moment. In fact, a little shy of confidence, looking to get it back. You bring that pressure blitz that they've been bringing. They bring the pressure blitz that they brought to that All Black game, and they demanded that the All Blacks play what you branded cheat code rugby by just executing crazy passes to get to the outside of them. If they can bring that ferocity and intent, this Wales side aren't that All Black side. They are a bit more brittle in the confidence thing. It's a new look backline with Josh Adams in the midfield. It could come unstuck if they get in their face.
Yeah, exactly. The line speed and physical tackling that they brought in those July games against the All Blacks was awesome. It was really, really impressive, and we saw them completely unstick France with a similar kind of performance. When they are dialed into the match and at the pitch of the match and bring energy and physicality off the line, they are very, very difficult to break down.
Any team to break down.
Their defense is so understated, and then they're just wonderfully skilled and brilliant and instinctive when it comes to the chaos ball opportunities.
Absolutely.
And on the multi-phase, Wales, they're a very good defensive side. They're going to be attacking the pill relentlessly because the Fijians need to mind the ball in contact a little bit. You're going to have your Ellis Jenkins, and those
roof will be open in Cardiff, I believe, as a COVID measure, which we saw last week. It could be a wet weather game as well.
That's where it's on Ben Volavola and Lamani to put Wales under pressure, to play in the right parts of the field, to not overextend. Really, a bit like the All Blacks, you don't want to be necessarily going 90 on the multi-phase trying to break down a really tough defence from midfield. You want to be winning the territory battle, getting after Wales on the defensive end, forcing mistakes, and then off turnovers or off poor Welsh kicks, striking, using your offensive talent to strike and grab tries, and we know they can do that.
You definitely can. Front up physically, try and be tidy at set piece as well, because that was another thing that was a little loose last week at the beginning, and then tightened up as the game went on. Like, they have it in them. They've improved as a scrum and a line out unit. They've started getting mauls off in the last few seasons in terms of the aggressive.
I'll tell you what, on the evidence of recent weeks, there's no reason why Ravai shouldn't fancy having a cut at Thomas Francis.
Indeed, this is what I'm saying. Wales are far from the most fearsome scrum you will meet at Tier 1 level, and in fact, they're shorn of a few men, and they actually look a little vulnerable in that area. If Fiji will take parity, if they can manage parity at scrum time and at line out time, if they can secure their own ball, that's mission accomplished. But the way to do that is by having a cut. Go for it. You might yield a penalty once in a while and an in from which to attack. Bring the game to them. Be aggressive in everything that you do. Be deliberate and forceful in everything that you do. Don't be wishy-washy. It's such a night and day difference when you see a Fiji team rock up with aggression and with a target on this game. You saw what happened in Paris a few years ago. You can see it happening over. I'm sure it's going to happen more and more because the players are just that good. But the difference, the contrast between that game and then the game that they rock up to Spain in their fresh from the beach mode, and it's just completely dialed out. We know which Fiji needs to arrive to this one for them to make it a game at least, and then possibly get a result.
Who knows? Big game for Adam Beard as well on the Welsh end, I think.
With the absence of Alan Wynne,
he's a lion now, and I haven't been bowled over by his performances, I'll put it that way, in recent weeks. He was very good on the Lions tour. He was very good in the Six Nations. But now there's no Alan Wynne Jones, there's no Ken Owens, there's no Justin Tipuric, there's no Faletau. He really is the leader of this pack. He's the senior man, and he has to step up. He has to get after the Fijians at the line out. He has to be a linchpin in the offense. He has to be physical on the inside.
Has to be defending their attempts at mauls very dexterously with his front
indeed.
row.
It hasn't been him making plays. It's been the back rowers making plays in these opening weeks, and he's a playmaking kind of second row. So I would love to see him get involved and get a bit of confidence back too.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. With all that said, how do you see it going?
I think Wales. I wasn't overly impressed by Fiji. I just don't think, without Vern Cotter there, I just think they are up against it a little bit in terms of actually delivering what they can deliver.
Yeah, same bit of slack that you cut Tonga, although they're on a higher level. Is just that it is with COVID and all this, it's tough for them to even fulfil these fixtures.
And I must say I was impressed with Wales last week. I was impressed with their response to that All Black game. They were unlucky not to get the win. It was frustrating. They scheduled a game against the All Blacks without any of their English-based players, and then they followed it up with a match against the world champions. They're not as bad as all that. They really did hustle against the Box last week. They could have won that game. They just need to add a few tries to what they're doing, play with a bit more offense, try and be clinical, and I think they'll be back on the horse and good for a win in this one.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Providing the stewards have their game face on and prevent any 16th man getting in to make a tackle.
16th Fijian man from Wales.
He's the Welsh Fijian coming in to stuff another line break.
Talk about banning pints now in the Millenium Stadium.
No, it wasn't pints that did that. It was that fella.
Well, it was pints to him. They need to hold their liquor better.
Yeah, that's true. Certainly he does. But I would agree with that. I think I'm gonna say that Wales do get back on the horse, find their groove a little bit, and probably run in a couple of nice tries here to make it a difference of about 14 points.
Yeah, okay.
But I'd say Fiji get some stuff off as well, because Wales are far from infallible at the moment, and I hope that Fiji rock up to the pitch.
Fiji usually get some stuff off, no matter what the circumstance.
This is true.
They're a great team for just next play.
Yeah,
they'll find if things are going wrong, they'll still find a class.
This is it. Yeah, if they're 50-0 down, they'll find a class coast to coast try, because they'll just be like, "Where's the try? There's the try." No, they are it's very impossible to dislike Fiji, and they are also a common denominator in great games of rugby. Every single one of their games in the World Cup in the pool match was a banger, and to be honest, anytime they take the field, they're just box office. It was the same. It was the shame of the Autumn Nations Cup that they missed out on all their games through that as well. They weren't able to play, but then when they finally did take the field, they were box office as well. So I'm hoping for a bit of razzle dazzle, a good bit of Sunday entertainment, and I think that the hosts Wales will get back in the win column after this one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Thank you for tuning in to the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you enjoyed what you hear, please like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below as well. We enjoy hearing your opinions too. Thank you.